At this time, I welcome to the podium the first Black woman to hold such esteemed position, the leader of the House Democratic Caucus and representative for House District 67, Leader Fentress Driscoll.
Wow, thank you, Senator Osgood. I feel like going on.
Yes, right.
Thank you all for being here. We know that many of you traveled from far and wide across the state of Florida to be here. Let me just go ahead and get this out the way. By rejecting the African American History Pilot Program, Ron DeSantis has clearly demonstrated that he wants to dictate whose story does and doesn't belong. He wants to control what our kids can learn based on politics and not sound policy. He repeatedly attacks the First Amendment rights of Floridians, with books being banned from libraries and classrooms, and now throwing his weight against this AP African American history course. He is undermining the rights of parents and students to make the best decisions for themselves. He wants to say that I don't belong. He wants to say that you don't belong, whose story does and doesn't get to count. But we are here to tell him, we are America.
Yes.
Governor, Black history is American history, and you are on the wrong side of history.
Yes.
And now we've been told that this AP African American history course will be altered and resubmitted, and most likely they'll make enough changes for the governor to approve it, but at what cost? And are we really okay with Ron DeSantis deciding what's acceptable for America's students across the country about Black history? This pilot program's curriculum was developed by education experts, and our AP students are some of the most intelligent in the country. The classical education model says that students in the 10th and 11th grades are in the rhetoric stage of development, where they can naturally become independent thinkers and they can handle challenging topics. Accurately teaching our history is not political until others make it so. How is it political to talk about the struggles we've endured? How is it political to talk about and to remember our history? The truth is the truth. You can't change it.
Amen.
It simply is. But if you try to sugarcoat it, if you refuse to teach it accurately, then the truth can be suppressed, it can be diminished, and if we are not vigilant, even erased. We all know that united we stand and divided we fall. And while Ron DeSantis tries to divide us for his own political goals, we know that to truly love our country means to bravely face our history, to know our own history, and to never be afraid to hold America to its highest ideals.
Amen.
We believe in an America where our past informs our future, that only by studying and understanding past fights for freedom, liberty, and full democracy can we maintain our rights today and preserve them for our children and grandchildren. We believe in an America where the ideals of our past become the reality of our present, an America where we all belong. But friends, in order to build that America, we need leaders who care not about some of us, but about all of us.
Right.
Because united, we stand. We need leaders who will bring the temperature down, not ratchet up the madness and create division. Because united, we stand. We need leaders who create good jobs, not anti-woke mobs. Because united, we stand. We need lower property insurance and safe neighborhoods, not more limitations on how we raise and educate our children. Because united, we stand. What we don't need is a governor who is so obsessed with woke that he is asleep at the wheel. Because divided, we fall. Make no mistake, the governor decided to pick this fight loud and in public, and he knew that this pilot program was already being edited. He knew it would attract attention. He knew that this would anger and hurt people. But he values headlines over Floridians, and his singular goal is to become the GOP nominee for president. We must all remember this moment and channel our anger at being rejected into action. Because he will try to draw attention in a dozen directions, and today it's Black history, and tomorrow it's Mickey Mouse, and the next day it's gas stoves. But we must stay focused. We have 650 days to Election Day 2024, when he hopes to be on the ballot for President of the United States. That is 22 months, 162 and a half weeks, 15,600 hours, 936 minutes, and we must use every second of that time, that precious time, to do the work and make sure that a man who says that an AP African American history course has no educational value never sets foot in the Oval Office.
Amen. Amen.
But we can only do that if we organize and if we mobilize. And there's some here today, there are others who will tell you how to get involved. But in the words of the prophet Amos, in the book of Amos 5:24, but let justice roll down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. Do not give up. You keep the faith, because I know that together, we will overcome. Thank you. And now I would like to bring to the podium my distinguished colleague and freedom fighter, attorney, and state representative, Michelle Rayner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All I can begin with is, what shall we say to all of these things? What shall we say to all of these things? It seems like every year there's a new enemy for DeSantis. Black folks, LGBTQ folks, people who are pregnant, universities, y'all know the list. Actions have shown time and time again that he targets our most vulnerable. It's always been about our next generation, our children, and it is our babies who you will hear from that will pay this price for the governor's relentless political witch hunts. Now, Republicans will tell you now they love the kids, and their fight for freedom is for our children. But if they cared about our kids, why are we almost dead last in the nation for a quality education? Why do we have a housing affordability problem? Why can't people get health care if our kids are the future? Our children have been used our political pawns, and rather they're not being the focus of creating good opportunities. Our babies know what's going on. You're going to hear from them. They know that the erasure of history is not a secret. There are 2.8 million students sitting in Florida public schools right now, knowing that their governor does not want them to learn about Black history. Now, since I love a little bit of history, I'm going to walk you through something very quickly. In 2018, we were warned. A sixth grader would have been then at the time, watched our incoming governor with a radical extremism get elected. And he was campaigning on political ideologies. And he made comments like, "Don't monkey this up." And many of folks, they brushed these comments off. And meanwhile, that sixth grader is just trying to complete a science course. But what about this is freedom? Freedom to live. What about is this freedom? But guess what? He was telling us who he was. In 2020, this same sixth grader is now in eighth grade. He watched Florida's governor respond to the murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd by passing a bill to silence the voices of Black folks and restrict everyone's right to freedom of speech and protest. But when asked about this, he said, "I'm just trying to keep people safe and businesses not being harmed." And this has nothing to do with race. And what about freedom, the freedom to speak? He was telling us who he was. And I'm going to walk you through to 2021. This eighth grader was a freshman in high school. Critical race theory is the new dog whistle, and we know that it's not being taught in the schools. He wanted to stop wokeness, and he wanted to divide kids by race. And we saw pictures of Brother Martin and Sister Rosa being wiped from our classrooms. All the while he defunded public education to fund charter schools. He ignored our housing crisis. He implemented a gas tax when it was politically convenient. And now in 2022, that same freshman is a sophomore. Their books that their upperclassmen friends had, they no longer have. And then DeSantis had the audacity to invoke MLK. He had the audacity to talk about folks' color of their skin and being judged by the content of their character. What was he telling us about the freedom to learn? Because guess what? Ronald was telling us who he was. And now in 2023, that sophomore is a junior in high school. For 5 years, they have watched their governor attack people based on what they look like, who they love, and what they believe. And now he tells students that Black history lacks value. Value means importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Value is akin to mattering. Mattering means the importance or significance. And what about this freedom to be equal? It is not only that he has showed us who he was, he is showing us in real time, and we must believe him. You cannot say on a Monday that you support Dr. King and on a Wednesday refuse to tell his story. You cannot say... You cannot say you are here to serve all the children of Florida, especially our children, but only when it serves your political ambitions. You're going to hear about what we need to do, and you're going to hear about how we're going to hold these people accountable for their audacious assault on Black folks and the hypocrisy with our children. But this is what I want to tell you. They want us to be tired. They want us to get weary. But I'm holding on to the promise. I'm holding on to the promise. Let us not grow weary in well-doing, for we shall reap a harvest if we faint not. And now I'm going to introduce Senator Gerald D. Thompson. My God, I'm just glad they had to go after her, honey.
Thank you, and good afternoon. The late Black author James Baldwin said, "I can't hear what you say because I see what you do." And what we hear in Florida is that African American history is required instruction in our schools. That's what we hear. What we see is that for almost 30 years, that law has been on the books and it has not been enforced. That's what we see.
Break it down, Geraldine.
Now, we are here today to serve notice that it's time out for hypocrisy. It's time out for hypocrisy. What time is it? Time out! Time out for hypocrisy. 30 years, and there has been no consequence whatsoever for instructors who are not teaching African American history. If we say that the speed limit is 70 and someone goes 80, the highway patrol is there with some consequences. But there have been no consequences for not teaching African American history. What time is it? Time out. It's time out for hypocrisy. Now, the courses that were to be taught on African American history were intended to explore how individual freedoms have been infringed by slavery, racial oppression, segregation, racial discrimination, and laws that resulted in racial oppression, racial segregation, and racial discrimination, and to highlight those individuals who work to overturn unjust laws. But we're told by Ron DeSantis that this kind of history has no educational value. It's time out for hypocrisy. Time out for hypocrisy. In the state of Florida, there are 67 school districts, 67 counties. Only 12 of them have been deemed to be doing an exemplary job in teaching African American history. And this determination was made by the Commissioner of Education's African American History Task Force. 12 out of 67. What time is it? Time out. Time out for hypocrisy. Now, what are we going to do in terms of consequences? If it's not taught, someone needs to be held accountable.
That's right.
Someone needs to be held accountable. The 12, those districts that are exemplary, what are they doing differently? Well, they've adopted textbooks that depict African American people. Do you remember seeing African American people in your textbooks? No. It's time out for hypocrisy.
Time out.
What time is it?
Time out.
Time out for hypocrisy. So they have textbooks. They have staff training. Do you know there are some instructors who were surprised to know that in 1994 this law was put on the books? Why would they be surprised? Because no one ever told them. No one ever said you have to teach this. And so what time is it? Time out. Time out for hypocrisy. They have developed a curriculum. That's what the 12 have done, their own curriculum. They didn't wait for the College Board to do it. They developed their own curriculum. And their school boards adopted instruction in African American history as a priority. That is what African American history ought to be in all 67 counties. They've developed curriculum guides in the 12 counties that are teaching it. And they are teaching it across 180 days. That's the length of the school year. They're not just doing it in February as an afterthought, as an aside, as an addendum. They are teaching it 180 days a year. And so we're here today to say we understand what you say, but we can't hear what you say because we see what you do. So we want to say today that it's time out for hypocrisy, and it's time to make this law real. It's time for consequences when it is not taught. So we're serving notice today by our presence that we want the African American History Task Force in the state of Florida appropriately funded. What time is it? Time out. Time out for hypocrisy. We want to make sure that laws that apply to public schools apply to all schools. I'm working with Representative Gallup Franklin, and we have a bill that says that any school that receives tax dollars would be required to teach African American history. And what time is it? Time out for hypocrisy. So we want the African American History Task Force appropriately funded. We want recognition that this has educational value, that our lives and our contributions have educational value. And remember Governor DeSantis, remember Commissioner Diaz, remember all of the officials. We can't hear what you say because we see what you do. And I'd now like to introduce the chair of the Florida Black Legislative Caucus, Representative Diane Hart.
Thank you. Before I begin, I'd like to say to the former representatives who are here this afternoon, thank you for joining us. That's Senator Tony Hill, Senator Dwight Bullard, and we also have Senator Lorraine Osley standing up at the top. I also want to thank NBCSL. For those of you all who don't know what that is, that's the National Black Caucus state legislators, for having Representative Flowers here from Arkansas with us today. Everybody all around the country knows how important this is. Amen. The goal of education is the advancement of knowledge and the dissemination of truth, said President John Kennedy. Good afternoon. I'm State Representative Diane Hart, representing House District 63. I also serve as chair of the Florida Legislative Black Caucus, which she just told you. I also chair Region 6 for the National Caucus of Black State Legislators. I'm here to disseminate some truth today. We've been here before. Under this governor, our people have been attacked, our culture has been dismissed, and now we're being told that our history lacks educational value. Education is a critical part of an individual's personal foundation. And when you choose to build a foundation on falsehoods, lies, or by simply erasing history, you've laid a foundation that will ultimately fail. I can only think of one reason why this state, a state that my colleagues and this governor have called the freest state in the country, would try to hide the truth. They're afraid. What are they afraid of? What is the governor afraid of? They're afraid that by learning the truth about African American history, that black children will change. Are you afraid that the truth about what has inspired in America will ruin the vain perspective of American exceptionalism that we push on the world? Are you afraid that your children and grandchildren will see you in their textbooks in direct opposition to the notion that all of us are created equal? I've learned that fear and intimidation will never stop the truth. Truth is something unlike fear that never dies. Amen. All students deserve a quality education that is honest about our history, and it's time that our state stop trying to hide it. While our history is being erased before our eyes, legislative leaders have launched another attack on our education in the form of HB 1. The last thing we need is to move to a private, more of our public education system, to privatize more of it. We know that these private schools have a history of curriculums that do not teach or value black history. It's time to give parents more choices in public education that highlight the full experience of black America. However, while we continue to push the state to fulfill this obligation, I'm calling on organizations such as the NAACP, the National Council of Negro Women, clergy leaders, National Panhellenic Councils, and others to join us in taking to educating our own children. Amen. For the constituents who've called my office asking what can they do, call and email the governor, the Speaker of the House, and your Senate President, and tell them to keep AP, African American history, as an option in Florida schools. No longer will we wait for the governor or even the Department of Education to see its value. We know for ourselves the importance of black people and the rich history that we as a community have contributed to the story of America. That's right. Amen. And by all of us coming together, our children will know it too. Because at the end of the day, this is about our children. That's right. So now I bring to the podium Senator Jones, a gentleman who really needs no introduction, a man who cares for the least of them. So I thank you so much.
I want to start off by talking to my colleagues who stand with me. In church, we sing a song, "We've come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord." But then it goes on and say, trusting in his holy word. He has never failed us yet. To my colleagues, I tell you that the moment that we are in right now, I repeat what Representative Ranger said. Don't get weary in well-doing, because we will reap a harvest, but we cannot give up. I want to thank the clergy from across the state who are here. It's too many to name. I want to thank Attorney Crump and the student leaders who are here today. But I want to go back and thank, once again, my colleagues in both the House and the Senate who are here today. We're not standing here for an exercise. That's right. We're not standing here because it's cute to stand here. We're standing here because we're resisting and we refuse to allow this to happen. We are dealing with the structure of a system that continues to perpetuate racism across this country and in this state. And let me clear this up. This is not just a Florida problem. Hear me what I'm telling y'all. Florida is just the petri dish. That's right. Tell it. But people from across the country should be concerned of what legislatures and what governors are doing and what they are watching Florida to do, because they believe if it can happen in Florida, it can happen in Tennessee, it can happen in Colorado. We want to resist right here, right now. Ron DeSantis is a problem, but he is not the problem. The problem that we are facing is that we are not dealing with the bigger issue at hand. Crumbling schools. That's right. Dilapidated buildings in our communities. High property insurance, like Leader Driscoll said. These are the issues that's being ignored because we have to deal with the promotion of Jim Crow 3.0 by people who don't know and don't care about what's happening in black communities, but they desire to referee how you teach our history. Focusing on AP African American Studies, that's what we're dealing with now. But the bigger issue that's at play is being ignored. We're being told to simply cry about it by the governor's staff.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
Time out.
But we will not do that. Now this has our full attention, not just here within the state of Florida, but across this nation. Not just with politicians, but with community leaders. Not just with adults, but with children also. Amen. Florida offers several cultural AP courses, including European history, including Japanese language and culture, including AP German language and culture. Just like those histories has value, God dog it, my history got value too. Young people have to be exposed to the world's rich diversity to grow into informed global citizens who practice empathy, who can explore their curiosities and have the foundation to be able to collaborate for the greater good of all of us. The fight is not just about this AP course. The fight is against the strong uprising of racism from people who are seeing the shifting of America.
That's right. That's right.
While the full and accurate historical record might make some uncomfortable, good. Good that you're uncomfortable. Good. That is the point of why we have to teach accurate history. Because when you don't teach history, we're bound to repeat it. And as human beings, we should be repulsed by the inhumane treatment of historically excluded groups in the United States, especially the group that represents 22% of this state, black people in the state of Florida. We have to get serious about returning power to the people of this state. But let me tell y'all something, because I started off with it and I'm going to end with it. We've come this far by faith. Leaning on the Lord. And if you're going to believe in the Lord, you leaned on somebody. And I'll tell you this. I have faith in people. And I have so much hope in our future. We have always recovered. We have always been resilient. And we will always resist. You beat us and we recovered. You sprayed us and we recovered. You disenfranchised us and we recovered. And we have to remain strong and resilient as we have always done, even through this, until no one can bother us again. But here's what my hope is. And here's where I will end. We are not afraid to solve these issues ourselves. Because we understand ain't nobody coming to save us. And we get it. And because nobody coming to save us, we're going to save ourselves. At this time, I would like to introduce no stranger to this house, no stranger to this state, the treasurer of the American Federation of Teachers, all of our good friend, Mr. Fed Ingram. All right.
Hi, good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Fed Ingram. I represent 1.7 million teachers from across this country, inclusive of 200,000 of those teachers right here in the state of Florida that represent 2.8 million children here that are being taught by my colleagues right now as we speak. In classrooms, we have social studies teachers and civics teachers and people who care about history who are afraid to teach honest history. Mr. DeSantis, what part are you afraid of? Is it slavery? Is it civil rights? Is it Reconstruction? Is it the fact that we've had a president who looks like me? What part scares you, Mr. DeSantis? You are the governor. You are not the king. Our history matters. Because all history matters. The truth matters. And sometimes in America, our history is good, bad, and ugly. But all of it needs to be taught so that our young people can make conscionable decisions for themselves. And so we're asking you on behalf of all of these teachers who create all of this great learning and all of this great teaching that's going on in the state of Florida, leave us alone. Let us do our job. Give us the resources that we need. Give us the magic working material that we always ask for, because that's what we need to create a better environment for our students. Let me say to the general public, this is not step one for Mr. DeSantis. Mr. DeSantis has banned books in the state of Florida. Mr. DeSantis has said openly and loudly that he is going to take over school boards and politicize them for his own good. Mr. DeSantis is trying to squelch teacher voice. Teachers are in the classroom and afraid to say anything about what happens to their children. Mr. DeSantis does not want us to teach honest history. Mr. DeSantis is running against people who are LGBTQ in this state. And this is about AP African American history. Sir, the best and brightest of our students would take this class. It's an optional class. It is something that we want and what we need to invest in our community so that the state of Florida is part of the United States of America, Mr. DeSantis. So I will simply end with this. We have some young people here who are our best and brightest. These young people, regardless of where they come from, their social, economic background, no matter how they look, no matter what their culture is, they deserve the best of what we have to give them. And to say, Mr. Diaz and Mr. DeSantis, that this has no educational value, shame on you. Shame on you, Mr. DeSantis. All of these people came here today to speak truth to power. But we have lawmakers in here who are committed to standing together, and so I want to thank them for that. We have clergy and pastors from all over this state who are committed to preaching this in their pulpits to let you know that we're not afraid of you. We have community activists in here whose names will never be said, but they will do the hard work of organizing against what is not right. So, Mr. DeSantis, again, you are the governor. You are not my king. And we will teach AP African American history. Thank you. I want to introduce to you. I'm sorry.
You good? No, you good. No, you good. Well, you could have did it, Fed. But he needs no introduction. Please, let's bring up to the stage Mr. Ben Crump.
Thank you all for being here, especially to the leaders, the clergy, and to all of the activists in the community who said, hell no. Hell no! We have to remember that it's so important, this cause, this fight, so much is at stake. I'm Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Craig Wisenhunt and with Attorney Precious Chavez and the NAACP, as well as the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. We're here to give notice to Governor DeSantis that if he does not negotiate with the College Board to allow AP African American Studies to be taught in the classrooms across the state of Florida, that these 3 young people will be the lead plaintiffs in a historic lawsuit. And you all need to remember their names, because it's their courageous tenacity and their intellect that reminds me, Reverend Holmes, many of the examples that were shown to the world by a young John Lewis, a young Julian Bond, a young Fannie Lou Hamer. You will remember the names of Elijah Edwards, of Victoria Heckman, of Victoria McQueen, and Juliet Heckman. Now, this is what it's about. It is about them. This is what the fight is for. Never, ever forget that. And the fact that they're coming forward in this consequential moment in history can never be taken lightly. Now, you're going to hear from them in a minute after you hear from my co-counsel, Craig Wisenhut, who has previously been victorious in challenging Governor DeSantis with the mask mandate. But I think, Senator Osgood, I do think it's important, though, that we remember what Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of black history, said. He said, if a race has no history, if a race has no worthwhile traditions that are respected and taught to the youth, it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world. And it stands in danger, Senator Jones, of being exterminated. And so the question really is this, brothers and sisters. Are we going to let Governor DeSantis or anybody exterminate black history from the classrooms in Florida? No. Senator Hill, will we let Governor DeSantis or anybody exterminate black history in the classrooms across America? No. Yeah, what this really is about is saying you cannot exterminate us, you cannot exterminate our culture, and you can never exterminate the value of our children to this world. Governor DeSantis, are you really trying to lead us into an era akin to communism that provides censorship of free thoughts? Or are we going to make sure that Governor DeSantis understands that we will stand on the American principles of the free exchange of ideas, whether those are ideals and culture of European history, whether those are ideals and culture of German history, whether those are ideals and culture of Japanese history, whether those are ideals and culture of Brazilian, Canadian, everybody who is here in America. You have a right to have your culture, your history respected and taught to the children of America. We say no to censorship. We say yes to community. No to censorship. Yes to community. No to censorship. Yes to community. No to censorship. Yes to community. Because as Dr. King taught us, we're all part of the beloved community. And my final thoughts are simply this. As the court wrote in November, when it granted an injunction against the university boards, it is not for the state of Florida to declare which viewpoints will be deemed orthodox and which will be forbidden from its university classrooms. If Judge Walker holding is to be respected, we must apply the same reasoning to the advanced placement African American studies to be taught in Florida classrooms. The First Amendment protects our students in allowing them to receive essential education on the history of African American and Black studies, the court held. The high school teachers are protected against being censored, ensuring an accurate retelling of our shared history in Florida, in America. And what is that shared history, brothers and sisters? It is that Black history is American history. 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 And so I will tell you this. Governor DeSantis is going to get a lesson of his own today from these young, brilliant students. Because as the Bible has taught us, God ordains strength out of the mouths of babes. And before you hear from these brilliant students who represent the best that we have to offer the future, I want to have you hear a little bit about the technical arguments of the lawsuit that will be filed or interplayed in the current lawsuit that is in the federal courts from a great lawyer, a great advocate, Attorney Craig Wisenhunt.
All right. So good afternoon. Good afternoon. I know that everyone's truly excited to hear technical legal arguments at the end of a lot of rousing speeches, but bear with me. I want to start by pointing out that one of the reasons this lawsuit is so important is because if we do not learn from our history, we are doomed to repeat it. And we have been here before. And Ron DeSantis clearly did not learn from history. Back in 2010, a Republican-led government in Arizona tried this very same thing regarding Mexican-American studies. And it took years, nearly 7, before a federal court shut that down. Because the government doesn't get to entangle itself in the education of students when it comes to a point of view. There are equal protections under the law. And this effort by the governor disproportionately affects only some.
Yep.
Right? There are protections to content-oriented speech, and this only intends to limit some content. Right? The content that applies to African American studies and African American students, our black communities, it doesn't speak to the traditions of white America, only that which Governor DeSantis seems to take exception to, which seems to be time and time again the minorities in the state of Florida. My mother was an elementary school librarian. I grew up around public schools and the idea of making sure information was available to everyone. And I had a chance on my drive up here for 4.5 hours through the rain to speak with her. She had lots of thoughts and probably could put a lot of them more eloquently than I can. But at one point we got to the topic of, well, is Governor DeSantis racist? And I said, you know what? I don't know, because that's between Governor DeSantis and God. That's right. Right? But I know that what he is doing has racist consequence.
Come on now.
And that is between the governor and the law.
Yeah.
All right? He is terrified of this concept of being awake because he is living in a dreamland where he is king and only his views matter.
Well,
This lawsuit, if it comes down to it, if we have to exercise our remedies through the court, has been litigated in the past successfully against the government on the governor's own arguments. Once again, and this is going to be again inside of a few weeks, we will find ourselves in the position of a federal court telling the world that Ron DeSantis is violating the federal Constitution and the Florida State Constitution again. These students deserve better than the leadership we have seen so far. Yes, they do. This country deserves better than Ron DeSantis' flawed sense of priorities and questionable views on morality and race. We can do better, and if we have to do it through the courts, we will.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Wisenhunt. First, we will hear from a young man, Elijah Edwards. Take your time. Take your time.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Okay. Dear Governor DeSantis, this is not a school assignment or random spewings from a kid who doesn't know anything, but this is a factual account of how I personally feel about your decision to deny me and my fellow students our rightfully deserved AP African American Studies class. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Elijah Edwards. I'm a lamplighter, community leader, and 10th grade gifted and magnet student at Sale High School. As I have gone through my years of schooling as a black kid in Florida, I have realized that I have not learned much about the history or culture of my people outside of my parents and close relatives. This fact unsettled me for some time. But after I heard that there might be an African American Studies AP class, I was ecstatic because next year I will be taking AP classes and wanted that class to be one of them. I could already imagine the insightful discussions and daily new history facts. But instead of approving the class and giving me and my fellow students around Florida a glimmer of hope to learn about the roots of our lineage, Governor DeSantis decided to deny the potentially life-changing class and effectively censor the freedom of our education and shield us from the truths of our ancestors. I can't believe that this is 2023 and America is talking about censoring education. This is America, not a communist nation. I thought here in this country, we believed in the free exchange of ideas, not the suppression of it. I don't expect much to change in Mr. DeSantis' mind, but he has the power to work with the College Board to approve the valuable curriculum that is so desperately needed. I hope he does. It would make it so Florida students have the opportunity to expand their horizons and learn about not only their cultures, but those of their classmates. This diversity is what makes both Florida and America so wonderful and unique. Thank you.
Thank you, Elijah. and his parents are also here with him. Thank you. Next, we will hear from Ms. Juliet Heckman.
Good afternoon. My name is Juliet Heckman, and I'm a junior at Leon High School here in Tallahassee, Florida. Over the past 2.5 years, I've had the privilege of taking 4 AP courses, 3 of which have been history-related. These classes have further advanced my knowledge of the world around me, as each class offers thorough evidence, viewpoints, and reasoning based on its designated topic. When I heard the news that there was an AP course in the works that was designated specifically to African American studies, I was grateful. Grateful in the sense that this side of history, one which is notoriously ignored and disregarded, would finally be given the proper and sufficient representation that it deserves. I was grateful that there was an interdisciplinary course that not only goes into depth on the history of African Americans, but also emphasizes the contributions made by them that have built the foundation of our country itself. Now, you can only imagine how me and many of my classmates felt when we recently learned that because we live in the state of Florida, we would not be given the opportunity to take this course because it, and I quote, lacks educational value. Every single AP course that I have taken has significantly advanced my knowledge and understanding of our world and has inspired me to learn more. And I have full confidence that this course would be no different. Simply because Florida lawmakers may be uncomfortable or even afraid with the course's criteria because it is too woke, does not grant them the right to take away this opportunity from thousands of students across the state.
That's right.
Times are changing, education is expanding, and students have higher levels of curiosity than ever before. It is not fair for our education to be constricted under the ignorant opinions of those who reject a course that is designed to only advance our understanding of the world around us.